ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौ भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Welcome all for today morning reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 4, verse number 11. Ye yatha mam prapadyanti tam tathaiva bhajamiham mama vartmanuvartante manushyapat sarvashah. We had already discussed a little bit about it yesterday, so we'll just read through it. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pratha. Purport. Everyone is searching for Krishna. Very beautiful line. Everyone is searching for Krishna and the different aspects of his manifestations. Krishna, the Supreme Personality Godhead, is partially realized in his impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence and as all-pervading super soul dwelling within everything, including the particles of atoms. But Krishna is fully realized only by his pure devotees. Consequently, Krishna is the object of everyone's realization, and thus anyone and everyone is satisfied according to one's desire to have him. In the transcendental world also, Krishna reciprocates with his pure devotees in the transcendental attitude, just as the devotee wants him. One devotee may want Krishna as Supreme Master, other as his personal friend, another as his son, and still another as his lover. Krishna rewards all the devotees equally, according to their different intensities of love for him. In the material world, the same reciprocations of feelings are there, and they are equally exchanged by the Lord with the different types of worshippers. The pure devotees, both here and in the transcendental abode, associate with him in person and are able to render personal service to the Lord, and thus derive transcendental bliss in his loving service. As for those who are impersonalists who want to commit spiritual suicide by annihilating the individual existence of the living entity, Krishna helps also by absorbing them into his effulgence. Such impersonalists do not agree to accept the eternal blissful personality of Godhead. Consequently, they cannot relish the bliss of transcendental personal service to the Lord, having distinguished their individuality. Some of them who are not firmly situated even in the impersonal existence return to this material field to exhibit their dormant desires for activities. They are not admitted into the spiritual planets, but they are again given a chance to act on the material planets. For those who are fruit workers, the Lord awards the desired results of their prescribed duties as the Yagneshwara. And those who are yogis seeking mystic powers are awarded such powers. In other words, everyone is dependent for success upon his mercy alone. And all kinds of spiritual processes are but different degrees of success on the same path. Unless, therefore, one comes to the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness, all attempts remain imperfect. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.10, Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama dharadi Tivrena bhakti yogena yajate purusham param. Whether one is without desire, or is desirous of all fruited results, or is after liberation, one should with all efforts try to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead for complete perfection, culminating in Krishna consciousness. Very, very important verse, which is generally misunderstood to be as if Krishna is saying that you take any path, ultimately you'll come to me. That's not the meaning of it. Rather, Krishna is saying, whatever you do, ultimately I am the one who fulfills your desires. And as you approach me, even with the fruit of desires or whatnot. Approach me in the sense there is nothing existence beyond Lord Shri Krishna. Even if somebody approaches Bhuta, Pretas, Pishash, Vetal, or Devatas for a reason, or that, the sadhus who claim themselves to be gods, or even the political leaders, or even the famous personalities, etc., etc., they are not independent living entities, they are fully dependent. Just like all of us, there's no difference between us and them. Only thing is, because of their karma, they're situated in a far better place than maybe some of us. And that situation also, Krishna says, even if somebody is fulfilling your desire, know for sure it is only because of my mercy. So what happens with you, it depends on your desire, intensity of desire. Accordingly, Lord reciprocates. That's the point. So to say that everyone is heading towards the same destination, no, that's not correct. Atheists want to forget Krishna, Krishna blesses them. Some people want to worship devatas, so Krishna blesses them, and their faith becomes stronger on the demigod worshippers. Somebody wants to worship bhuta, pretas, like tantris, etc., so Krishna blesses them, and they become a staunch follower of that path. So according to your desires, or according to your surrender, Krishna reciprocates. Text number 12. Kangshanta karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devataha shipram hi manushe loki siddhe bhavati karmaja. Men in this world desire success in fruitive activities, and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive work in this world. Purports. These are very important shlokas, 11, 12, and 13, okay? There is a great misconception about the gods or demigods of this material world. And men of less intelligence, although passing as great scholars, take these demigods to be various forms of the Supreme Lord. Although the demigods are not different forms of the Lord, but they are gods, different parts and parcels. God is one, and the part and parcels are many. The Veda says, Nityo Nityanam, God is one, Ishvara Parama Krishna. The Supreme God is one, Krishna, and the demigods are delegated with powers to manage this material world. These demigods are all living entities, Nityanam, with different grades of material power. They cannot be equal to the Supreme God, Narayana, Vishnu, or Krishna. Anyone who thinks that God and the demigods are on the same level is called an atheist or Pashandi. Even the great demigods like Brahma, Shiva cannot be compared to the Supreme Lord. In fact, the Lord is worshipped by demigods such as Brahma, Shiva, Virinchinutam. Yet, curiously enough, there are many human leaders who are worshipped by foolish men under the misunderstanding of anthropomorphism or zoomorphism. Iha Devataha denotes a powerful man or demigods of this material world, but Narayana, Vishnu, Krishna, the Supreme Personality God, does not belong to this world. He is above or transcendental to material creation. Even Sripad Shankaracharya, the leader of the impersonalists, maintained that Narayana Krishna is beyond this material creation. However, foolish people, Hit Jnana, worship the demigods because they want immediate results. They get the results, but do not know that results so obtained are temporary and meant for less intelligent persons. The intelligent person is in Krishna consciousness, and he has no need to worship the paltry demigods for some immediate temporary benefit. The demigods of this material world, as well as their worshippers, will vanish with the annihilation of the material world. The boons of the demigods are also material and temporary. Both material worlds and their inhabitants, including the demigods and the worshippers, are like bubbles in the cosmic ocean. In this world, however, human society is mad after temporary things, such as the material opulence of possessing land, family, and enjoyable paraphernalia. To achieve such temporary things, people worship the demigods, a powerful man in human society. If a man gets some ministership in the government by worshipping a political leader, he considers that he has achieved a great boon. How many of you agree? Somebody gets a visa sanction to go to America, he thinks as he's going to Vaikuntha. Right? The excitement. That's what I'm talking about. All of them are therefore no towing to the so-called leaders or big guns in order to achieve some temporary boons, and they need to achieve such things. Such foolish men are not interested in Krishna consciousness for the permanent solution to the hardships of material existence. And I was also one of those fools who went to America to study. And I remember when I got a visa, I was standing outside the visa office in Delhi, and there was a huge line which I've never seen. I didn't knew the visa office also there would be 1 kilometer long line. There was a line like this. Finally, after one and a half hour waiting, I came more closer to the embassy. So there was an entry gate, and nearby there was an exit gate. So people were coming from exit gate. There were both kind of emotions. Hooray! I got it! And all the family members will run and embrace him as if, back to God at Haribol, Vaikuntha Airlines. And then suddenly some people will come crying. Ooh! Then you can understand they didn't got the visa. like this. So we were getting extremely nervous like that. So anyways, I somehow got it. So that was for me for good luck, because I got Krishna conscious in America actually. So not so bad in that sense. They all after sense enjoyment, and to get a little facility for sense enjoyment, they're attracted to worshipping empowered living entities known as demigods. These was indicates that people are really interested in Krishna consciousness. They're mostly interested in material enjoyment, and therefore they worship some powerful living entity. So God and demigods are not on the same level. Text number 13. However, prior to this verse, Prabhupada in the previous purport already quoted Akama Sarva Kamava. If you have any desire, all the desires, what you should do? You should worship Krishna only. Text number 13. Chato varnyam maya shashtam gunakarma vivagashah tasya kartaram apimam vidhi kartaram apayam. According to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. Although I am the creator of the system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. But the Lord is the creator of everything. Everything is born of Him. Everything is sustained by Him. And everything after annihilation rests in Him. He is therefore the creator of the four divisions of the social order, beginning with the intelligent class of men, known as IT engineers. Oh, no. Technically called as Brahmanas. I just misread it actually. Technically, I thought when technically means IT engineers. So what is IT engineers, by the way? Any guess? Where does IT engineer branch comes into social order? Any guesses online, fellows? Where would our respected IT engineers come in the respectable social order? All right. Till the time you use a chat. The chat is enabled, they can type in, yeah. Okay. Technically called the Brahmanas due to their being situated in the mode of goodness. Next is the administrative class. Technically called the Kshatriyas due to their being situated in the mode of passion. The mercantile men, called the Vaishyas, are situated in the mixed modes of passion ignorance, and then comes the IT engineers. Laborer class are situated in the ignorant of mentality. Okay, no offense, I'm just joking. All IT engineers have all the respect. I was also one of the engineers. In spite of his creating the four divisions of human society, Lord Krishna does not belong to any of these divisions, because he is not one of the conditioned souls, a section of whom form human society. Human society is similar to any other animal society, but to elevate man from the animal status, the above-mentioned divisions are created by the Lord for the systematic development of Krishna consciousness. Even, for development of consciousness, please, I like this point very much. Even for the development of our consciousness, there is an organization required. And Lord Shri Krishna created an organization of social system, so that we can understand where we are and we know where to go. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada extended that organization in the form of an ISKCON as an institution, an organized practice, so that we have an organized practice of getting up early in the morning and chanting the holy names, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, attending the Aarti, etc., and eating Krishna Prasad and going to office. So that is what mode of goodness lifestyle is, to be organized. Human society, otherwise we're just like animals. That's what Prabhupada writing. The tendency of a particular man to work is determined by the modes of material nature which he has acquired. Such symptoms of life, according to the different modes of material nature, are described in the 18th chapter of this book. A person in Krishna consciousness, however, is above even the Brahmanas. So, congratulations, all the IT engineers. You're even above the Brahmanas. That's your status, okay? A person in Krishna consciousness, however, is even above the Brahmanas. All the Brahmanas by quality are supposed to know about Brahman, the supreme absolute truth. Most of them approach only the impersonal Brahman manifestation of Krishna. But a man who transcends the limited knowledge of a Brahmana and reaches the knowledge of the Supreme Godhead, Krishna, becomes a person in Krishna consciousness, or in other words, a Vaishnava. Krishna consciousness includes knowledge of all different plenary expansions of Krishna, namely Rama, Narasimha, Vara, etc. And as Krishna is transcendental to the system of the four divisions of human society, a person in Krishna consciousness is also transcendental to all divisions of human society, whether we consider the divisions of community, nation, or species. So this is a verse in itself to be discussed, but in essence, this is a system designed by Lord Shri Krishna to help us move from the animal consciousness to the human consciousness. Chaturvarnya Maya Shashtam. So ashram, which means spiritual order, and four social orders. Social orders are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and four spiritual orders are Brahmachari, Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasi. All right. Text number 14. So the point is, all of us should be part of one of the varnas and one of the ashrams. Very important. So which ashram are you all? Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. Non-existing ashram. Yes? Non-existing. I'm talking to the bachelors here, those who are sitting in front of me. They're neither brahmacharis, neither grahasthas. They're karmacharis. And Kali Yuga Krishna would have to add another category, karmacharis. So like that. Okay, text number 14. Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spraha iti mam yobijanati karma birna savadhyati. There is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of work. Very important. Purport. Prabhupada focuses on that Creator is not responsible for the actions of his subjects or subordinates. This is the way the system has been designed. As you sow, so shall you reap. Therefore, Krishna, Namam karmani limpanti. Oh, it is not that you can do anything. You go and break the rules and regulation, and Father will be put behind the prison bar. No, not like that. Although I've created the system, but I am not affected by it. So you are responsible for how you act. Puppet. As there are constitutional laws in the material world stating that the king can do no wrong, that the king is not subject to state laws, similarly the Lord, although is the creator of this material, is not affected by the activities of the material world. He creates, remains aloof from the creation, whereas the living entities are entangled in the fruitive results of material activities because of their propensity for lording it over material resources. The proprietor of an establishment is not responsible for the right and wrong activities of the workers, but the workers are themselves responsible. The living entities are engaged in the respective activities of sense gratification, and these activities are not ordained by the Lord. For advancement of sense gratification, the living entities are engaged in the work of this world, and they aspire to heavenly happiness after death. The Lord, being full in himself, has no attraction for the so-called heavenly happiness. The heavenly demigods are only his engaged servants. The proprietor never desires the low-grade happiness such as the workers may desire. He is aloof from the material actions and reactions. For example, the rains are not responsible for different types of vegetation that appear on earth. Although without such rain, there is no possibility of vegetative growth. In other words, without Krishna, nothing can happen here. But it does not mean because of Krishna, everything is happening. In other words, we are the instruments of our actions. We perform, just like the rains are not responsible for different types of vegetation when the rains fall on the earth. But yet, without rain, without water, you cannot have vegetation. Vedic Smriti confirms this act as follows. Nimitta matrameva sau sarjanam sarga karmani pradhan karani bhuta yatovai sracha shaktaya. In the material creation, the Lord is the only supreme cause. The immediate cause, material nature, by which the cosmic manifestation is made visible. The creating beings are of many varieties, such as demigods, human beings, lower animals, and all of them are subject to the reactions of their past good or bad activities. The Lord only gives them the proper facilities for such activities and the regulations of the modes of nature. But he is never responsible for their past and present activities. Vedanta Sutra 2.1.34, it is confirmed, Vaishamya Nahargrane Na Sapekshatvat. The Lord is never partial to any living entity. The living entity is responsible for his own acts. The Lord only gives him facilities through the agency of material nature, the external energy. Anyone who is fully conversant with all the intricacies of this law of karma, of fruitive activities, does not become affected by the results of his activities. In other words, the person who understands this transcendental nature of the Lord is an experienced man in Krishna consciousness, and thus he is never subjected to the laws of karma. One who does not know the transcendental nature of the Lord and who thinks that the activities of the Lord are aimed at fruitive results, as are the activities of the ordinary living entities, certainly become entangled himself in fruitive reactions. But one who knows the Supreme Truth is a liberated soul, fixed in Krishna consciousness. Now, text number 15. So the discussion that follows from now onwards is, we are discussing in this chapter about transcendental knowledge. And what is the transcendental knowledge? Lord is Lord, living entity is living entity. They're two entirely different tattvas. So, and the chapter began with what is the history of this transcendental knowledge, which is given by Krishna to Arjuna. That's how the discussion began. What is transcendental knowledge was the next subject matter. What is the benefit of gaining this transcendental knowledge? Janma karma chamaya divyam evam yaviti tattva tyaktodayam punarjama. You go back home, back to Godhead. Now, how this transcendental knowledge can remove and destroy all the misconceptions? Text number 11, 12, and 13. 11 was about, what was 11 was? Vitaraga bhayani, that was 10th verse. What is that? Ye yathamam prapadanti tam sataiva jamyam. So 11th verse, Lord Shri Krishna instructed or explained that how, everyone follows Krishna's path, which means everyone is dependent on Krishna, the Supreme Lord. However, everyone does not reach to the same destination. The goals are different. How? Krishna reciprocates differently to different individuals. It all depends on how you surrender to Krishna. That was the point. And then the Prabhupada very beautifully explained about different relationship Krishna has with the devotees, depending on the intensity of desire of different devotees. Then came text number 12. Although the demigods fulfill the desires of living entities of this world very easily, yet demigods are not independent, which will be elaborated in detail in 7th and the 9th chapter. So in that, Prabhupada talks about that how demigods are Lord Shri Krishna are two different things. In fact, demigods are also Jiva Tattva. Then came verse number 13, how transcendental knowledge destroys misconception. Caste system is not wrong as long as marriage is not wrong, because divorce happens. So there had been some exploitation in past on the name of caste system. It is not the caste system by default is at fault, but because the people who were implementing, who were supposed to protect the people under this Varnashrama Dharma, became the exploitator. So that was explained. And now comes discussion about how one who knows or understands this knowledge about Lord Shri Krishna does not get bound by the actions. So now from 15th verse onward, the question will come, the subject matter comes, one should act according to transcendental knowledge. And what is the transcendental knowledge? If you say, there are a few things that you can say. I am not the body but spirit soul. I am not the Lord, Krishna the Supreme Personality. I am not the controller of proprietor, Krishna the Supreme Personality Godhead. The work, or let's say this material world where I am living, is a temporary place. The work that I am engaged into can be made as an act of purification for me to become free from the prison. This is the fourth point, which will be largely discussed here. How through work, or you perform your work in a way that it acts as a purifying process for you to purify of your attachments to the sense objects and to your desire to enjoy and control, so that you can free yourself. And why Krishna is using work as a means for our deliverance? Because we have karmatmakam buddhi. In this world, nobody can sit idle. Anyone? Even it is said, idle's mind is devil's workshop. Even if somebody is sitting idle, is still thinking of planning of something. Therefore, they say idle's mind is devil's workshop. So work is being focused now from 14th, 15th verse onwards. Evam nyatva kritam karma puverape mumukshvi guru karmeva tasmatvam purvahe purvataram kritam. All the liberated souls in ancient times acted with this understanding of my transcendental nature. Therefore, you should perform your duty following in their footsteps. I have spoken at length about this verse, the importance of this verse in our Bhakti Shastri or Gita Life program. If you wish to, you can hear there, but I will not go into details of it. Let's go to the purport. Very important verse actually, and largely we miss out this point. Purport. There are two classes of men. Some of them are full of polluted metal things in the heart, and some of them are materially free, which means demonic and divine. Krishna consciousness is equally beneficial for both of these persons. Those who are full of dirty things can take to the line of Krishna consciousness for a gradual cleansing process, following the regular principles of devotion service. Those who are already cleansed of the impurities may continue to act in the same Krishna consciousness so that others may follow the exemplary activities and thereby be benefited. Yadyatacharati Shrestha, Prabhupada is quoting. Foolish persons and neophytes in Krishna consciousness often want to retire from activities without having knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada is speaking about Arjuna, chapter 1. Arjuna's desire to retire from activities in the battlefield was not approved by the Lord. One need only know how to act. Very important. What we have to know? Only how to act. Please mark that. One need only know how to act. To retire from the activities of Krishna consciousness and sit aloof making a show of Krishna consciousness is less important than actually engaging in the field of activities for the sake of Krishna. Arjuna is here advised to act in Krishna consciousness, following the footsteps of the Lord's previous disciples, such as the sun god Vivaswan, as mentioned herein before. And same thing Srila Prabhupada did, following the footsteps of his spiritual master, Bhakti Siddhanta Sri Thakur. He traveled all over the world, although he had an opportunity to retire in Vrindavan and pass his last years in this body that he had and go back home, back to Godhead. But Prabhupada said, no, far better is to show others how to act and engage in Krishna consciousness, following in the footsteps of previous examples. For Arjuna, Janak Maharaj was the example given. And for Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Sri Thakur was an example like that. Therefore, he recommends the act of sun. Therefore, he recommends the acts of the sun god, who learned this art from the Lord some millions of years before. All such students, Lord Krishna mentioned here as past liberated persons, engaged in the discharge of duties allotted by Krishna. So, act, perform your work with transcendental knowledge, following in the footsteps of previous acharyas or examples. Text number 16. Kim karma kim karmeti kavyopi yatra mohitaha tatte karma pravakshyami yajnanatva mokshasi yashubhat. Even the intelligent bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune. So now the discussion comes about karma, vikarma and akarma. Text number 16. Purport. Action in Krishna consciousness has to be executed in accord with examples of previous bona fide devotees. Very important, please highlight. Our action in Krishna consciousness has to be executed in accord with examples of previous bona fide devotees. Therefore, those who are leaders in any capacity within ISKCON, they should be very well versed with the life of Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada, how he dealt with different situations. Therefore, it is highly recommended for the leaders to read Prabhupada's letters, actually, when he has personally written instructions in different situations. This is recommended in the 15th verse. Why such action should not be independent will be explained in the text to follow. To act in Krishna consciousness, one has to follow the leadership of authorized persons who are in line of disciplic succession, as explained in the beginning of this chapter. The system of Krishna consciousness was first narrated to the sun god. The sun god explained to his son Manu, Manu to Ikshvaku, and the system is current on this earth from that very remote time. Therefore, one has to follow in the footsteps of previous authorities in the line of disciplic succession. Otherwise, even the most intelligent man will be bewildered regarding the standard actions of Krishna consciousness. For this reason, the Lord decided to instruct Arjuna in Krishna consciousness directly. Because of the direct instruction of the Lord to Arjuna, anyone who follows in the footsteps of Arjuna is certainly not bewildered. It is said that one cannot ascertain the ways of religion simply by imperfect experimental knowledge. Actually, the principles of religion can only be laid down by the Lord Himself. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavad pranitam. No one can manufacture religious principle by imperfect speculation. One must follow in the footsteps of great authorities like Brahma, Shiva, Narada, Manu, Kumaras, Kapila, Prahlad, Bhishma, Sukdev, Yamaraj, Janak, Balimaraj. By mental speculation, one cannot ascertain what is religion or self-realization. Therefore, out of causeless mercy to his devotees, the Lord explains directly to Arjuna what action is, what inaction is. Only action performed in Krishna consciousness can deliver a person from the entanglement of material existence. That is called as akarma. Text number 17. Karmano hi api bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gati. Gahana, बहुत मुश्किल है. Very difficult to understand what is karma, vikarma and akarma. Well, vikarma is easy to understand, but karma at times becomes difficult. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. Puppet. So the difference between, if in case we want to, vikarma is sinful activities, but the difference between karma and akarma is, if an act is performed with a selfish purpose, it becomes karma. And if the same act is performed with selfishness or selflessness, then it becomes akarma, which means if it is done for Krishna, what do you mean for Krishna? I don't need anything, I'm not expecting anything. Then it becomes akarma. Puppet. If one is serious about liberation from material bondage, one has to understand the distinction between action and unauthorized actions. One has to apply oneself to such analysis of action, reaction, and perverted actions, because it is very difficult subject matter. Which means we have to study this carefully, because it's not something which we can easily grasp it. To understand Krishna consciousness and action according to its modes, one has to learn one's relationship with the Supreme. That is, one who has learned perfectly knows that every living entity is an eternal servant of the Lord, and that consequently one has to act in Krishna consciousness. The entire Bhagavad Gita is directed towards this conclusion. Any other conclusion against this consciousness and its attendant actions are vikarmas, or prohibited actions. To understand all this, one has to associate with authorities in Krishna consciousness. Please highlight. To understand all this, one has to associate with authorities in Krishna consciousness and learn the secret from them. This is as good as learning from the Lord directly. Otherwise, even the most intelligent persons will be bewildered. Hare Krishna. So, Gahana Karmano Gati is very difficult to understand. But one easy way to understand what is action, or what is in action, karma and akarma, is even if a pious activity, your service to the Lord has been done with the selfish interest, it becomes karma. But if there is no selfish interest, it is called as karma. We'll read the last verse for today, text number 18. Karmaniya karma ya pasya karmani ja karma yaha savadhiman manusheshu sayukta krishna karma kat. One who sees in action is intelligent among men and is a transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. Purport. A person acting Krishna conscious and naturally free from the bonds of karma. His activities are all performed for Krishna, that is called as akarma. Therefore, he does not enjoy or suffer any of the effects of work. Consequently, he is intelligent in human society, even though he is engaged in all sorts of activities for Krishna. Akarma means without reaction to work. The impersonalist ceases putting activities out of fear, so that the resultant action may not be a stumbling block on the path of self-realization. But the personalist knows rightly his position as eternal servitor of the Lord. Therefore, he engages himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness, because everything is done for Krishna. He enjoys only transcendental happiness in the discharge of his service. Those who are engaged in this process are known to be without desire for personal sense gratification. The sense of eternal servitorship to Krishna makes one immune to all sorts of reactionary elements of work. Same thing is mentioned in Upanishads or Ishopanishads, you want to call it. Kurvan eveha karmani jijivisikshatam savaha evam toinani no susti na karma lipyate nare. So one who knows the truth, what is the truth? Ishavasam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatayam jagat. One who understands the Supreme Lord Krishna to be the Supreme Controller, Supreme Proprietor, and Supreme Enjoyer, such a person, when he performs an action, na karma lipyate nare. This is what is also mentioned in Upanishad. This is the version of Shruti. And this is Smriti Shastra from Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, like that. Similarly, Lord Shri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita also says the same thing. So, this is a basic principle all across our Vedic scriptures. If we perform our action with a consciousness, with an understanding, I am not the enjoyer, proprietor, or enjoyer. Rather, whatever I am doing is a facility offered by the Lord for the Lord. And I'm supposed to just carry out the orders or the needs or the basic things that I can perform here, because if I don't do action, I cannot even maintain my own body. So like that, Lord Shri Krishna has made a social and spiritual orders. So to help us fit into it according to our past characteristics and competence that we have cultivated over many, many lifetimes, you see people have different inclinations. These inclinations are not because of this lifetime. This lifetime and only given them confusion. This lifetime has only given them confusion, where whatever the inclinations were there, they're confused about it because of too much bombardment of varied kind of information. But otherwise, based on our past activities, which was previous lifetimes, we develop a very strong inclination for certain things. Some people are naturally attracted to reading books. Some people are naturally attracted to not reading books. And it's not something you can say it's a defect in the genes. Not like that. That is coming from the past life activities like that. And that which we cannot give up, which means performing action, through that we can achieve liberation. That is what the message of Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, this impersonalist says, itna asan ho hi nahi sakta. In the same impersonalistic tendencies or Mayavadi tendencies within me, one day I told devotees, itna asan. They were talking about 4 regular principles. Just follow 4 regular principles, 16 rounds, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, you can go back to Godhead. I began to laugh. Mazak kar rahe? Itna asan. And then one of the devotees said, Abhi naya hai. Kuch saal ruk, पता चलेगा 4 रेगुलेट प्रिंसिपल कितने मुश्किल होते हैं. You know, and now the line, when I look back, I realize that yeah, that was correct. It's not so easy in today's world and time and place and circumstances to seriously practice 4 regular principles and to chant 16 rounds. I'm not saying not to do it. What I'm saying is, it's not that easy what it seems to be, so like that. So Mayavadi is saying, oh, these bhaktas, the process is so easy. If it is easy, it's not doable. Not like that. So with that, we conclude our discussion for today here. Text number 19 onwards, we'll talk about now. Lord Shri Krishna talks about how we can cultivate transcendental knowledge by performing various sacrifices. That will be the subject matter that we shall read tomorrow. With that, thank you all for joining in. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki Srimad Bhagavad Gita.